So today, we're going to take a look at one of the most pivotal events in all of human history, the Crucifixion. But we're going to do it through a lens you might not be expecting. Based on the analysis of Dr. Chuck Missler, we're going to explore this wild idea that the crucifixion wasn't some horrible tragedy, but was actually a meticulously planned achievement.
All right, let's just jump right in with that quote, because it really turns everything on its head, doesn't it? The core argument here is that the crucifixion wasn't a plan that went sideways, it was the plan from the very beginning. And, that perspective, it completely reframes the entire story, from one of victimhood to one of victory.
So how in the world do you build a case for something like that? Well, it all starts with how you read the Bible itself. The idea is to stop seeing it as just a collection of separate books, and instead see it as one single, totally integrated message system designed from start to finish.
According to this viewpoint, there's this single thread that runs from the first pages of Genesis, weaving through all the prophecies and symbols, and it's all leading to this one singular moment. Every story, every law is seen as part of this cosmic setup for what was destined to happen on that hill outside Jerusalem. It suggests a design so complex it points to a single author behind the whole thing. Okay, so let's see how this grand design actually plays out with the human beings involved, starting with the guy caught right in the middle, the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. In this view, he's not just some one-dimensional villain. He's more like a pawn in a much bigger game, a politician completely trapped in an impossible situation. I mean, look at what he does. First, he tries to pass the buck to another ruler, Herod. It doesn't work. Then he repeatedly, out loud, declares Jesus innocent. He offers the crowd a choice, hoping they'll pick Jesus over a known murderer. He even has Jesus brutally beaten and then parades him out, all bloody, probably thinking, surely this will make them feel some pity. He is desperately looking for any off-ramp he can find. And the pressure wasn't just coming from the crowds. He gets this cryptic, absolutely terrifying message from his own wife. She's warning him to stay away from the whole thing because of a nightmare she had. Can you imagine getting a text like that in the middle of the most high-stakes decision of your entire career? It just throws another log on the fire of his anxiety. So in the end, what wins out? Fear. His fear of a riot and the bad report card that would send back to his boss, the Emperor Tiberius. It just completely overwhelms his conscience. The whole washing of the hands thing is this big dramatic gesture, yeah? But it's a complete and total abdication of his duty. He chose political survival over doing the right thing.
Now, while Pilate is stuck wrestling with his political reality, the source material argues that a much, much older script is playing out, an ancient prophetic script right down to the tiniest details, including the exact price of betrayal. Okay, now get this. This is from the book of Zechariah, written about 500 years before any of this happened. It names a specific price, 30 pieces of silver. But it gets even crazier. It also says what will happen to the money. It's going to be cast to the potter. I mean, that is incredibly specific. And then, flash forward 5 centuries, and we see it play out exactly. Judas, filled with remorse, throws the money back into the temple. The priests decide it's blood money, so they can't put it in the treasury, so what do they do with it? They use it to buy a plot of land, a field known as the Potter's Field. The price, the final destination, all of it lines up perfectly with that ancient text.
All right, this theme of fulfillment keeps going with the story of Barabbas. In this analysis, he's not just some random historical detail. He is a living, breathing parable of one of the core ideas here, substitution. I mean, just look at the contrast here. It is so stark. On one side, you've got Barabbas, a murderer, guilty as sin, and condemned to die. On the other side, you've got Jesus, who Pilate himself just said was innocent. And in this shocking reversal, the guilty man is set free and the innocent man is sent to die in his place. They literally trade fates. And here's the point where it gets personal. The argument is that, in a way, we're all in Barabbas' shoes. We're the guilty ones who deserve condemnation, but an innocent substitute has stepped in and taken our place. It's a really powerful metaphor for the whole theological claim being made here.
Now let's zoom in on the crucifixion itself, because even in the final, agonizing moments, the argument is that details are falling into place, fulfilling a pre-written script, and sometimes in the most unexpected ways imaginable. So Pilate, probably still fuming from being manipulated by the chief priests, personally writes the sign that's going to be nailed above Jesus' head. And he insists it be written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, the 3 main languages of the empire, so that absolutely everyone could read it. But he might have written a lot more than he realized.
So in Hebrew, the sign read, Yeshua HaNatzri v'melech HaYehudim. Now on the surface, it's just a simple statement of the official charge against him, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. But anyone who could read Hebrew would have noticed something else going on, something hidden in plain sight.
You see, if you take the first letter of each of those Hebrew words, Yod, He, Vav, He, you get an acrostic. You get YHWH, the Tetragrammaton, the most sacred, holy, unpronounceable name of God in all of Judaism. And it was placed there on that cross, not by a follower, not by a disciple, but by the Roman governor himself.
Well, the Jewish leadership saw this immediately, and they were outraged. They rushed to Pilate and demanded he change it to say he claimed to be the King of the Jews. But Pilate, in this final act of defiance, just shuts them down. What I have written, I have written. It's like he's saying, my part in this drama is over. It's done.
And the details just keep clicking into place. The ancient Passover law required that none of the bones of the sacrificial lamb could be broken. So, when the soldiers come to speed up the deaths by breaking their legs, they break the legs of the two thieves, but they find that Jesus is already dead. So, his bones are left intact. And then you have a psalm, written centuries earlier, that describes soldiers gambling for a man's clothes. And what do the Roman legionnaires do at the foot of the cross? They divide his clothes and cast lots for his tunic.
And finally, let's turn to the last moments of the event itself, the 7 statements Jesus made from the cross, which are presented here as the purposeful, powerful conclusion to this incredible achievement.
These 7 statements are like a summary of his entire purpose. There are words of forgiveness, of promise, of care for his family, of agony, and finally, of completion. But there's one statement in particular, just a single word in the original Greek, that is basically the ultimate declaration that the mission was a success.
And that word is tetelestai. Now, this doesn't just mean it's over. In the first century, this was a common accounting term. You would see it stamped on bills and invoices. It meant paid in full. This wasn't a cry of defeat from a dying man. It was a shout of triumph, a declaration that the debt had been paid and the mission was accomplished.
Which brings us right back to where we started. If this entire event, from the political maneuvering of Pilate to the ancient prophecies of Zechariah, was a meticulously executed achievement, then the question we're left with is, what exactly was achieved? Well, according to this analysis, it was the fulfillment of a plan set in motion before the world began. It was a debt once and for all paid in full.